Hey there, this may be the video that stops you from ever taking a dump in peace again, but if you're brave enough to hear about the dirtiest death ever recorded, let's dive in. Welcome to TrapDoor Crime, and this is the stalker that hid in the toilet septic tank to peek at girl. It's a frosty February evening in 1989, and Miyagi, Fukushima is quieter than a library during finals week. But things are about to get seriously strange. It all started when a 23-year-old teacher known only as A returns to her dorm after a quick trip to visit her family. But instead of a warm welcome, she's greeted by the sight of, wait for it, a pair of legs sticking out of a septic tank. The man's name, as authorities would later find out, was Naoyuki Shugano. He wasn't your average Joe either. In fact, he was a well-respected member of his community, and he worked at the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Now, I'm no septic tank expert, but it's basically a massive tank underground where all human bodily secretions, solid or liquid, from the building complex are dumped. The septic tank stood at a modest 14-inch width, while Naoyuki's shoulders were 2 inches wider than that. What does this mean exactly? It means somehow Naoyuki climbed in and was squeezed into the pipes to the point he could not dislodge himself. This means he was suffocated to his demise and drowned in literal poop. Because he couldn't breathe air, his lungs started taking in the surrounding poop, the worst possible way to go. With a scream that could wake the dead, A rushes to alert the authorities, kicking off a chain of events that'll have you on the edge of your seat. The local police, in a move straight out of a Scooby-Doo episode, try to pass off Naoyuki's demise as a freak accident. A man climbing into a septic tank to peek up the pipes at the woman he was stalking. But was this a cop-out? The plot thickens. In the years since Naoyuki's untimely demise, the case has taken on a life of its own, captivating internet sleuths and conspiracy theorists alike. Countless theories have been proposed, ranging from government involvement to supernatural phenomena. Yet, among the speculation, one fact remains incomprehensible. Why did Naoyuki Shugano's climb into a septic tank? The police's first theory, that Naoyuki had climbed into the tank to spy on the female teacher, was met with skepticism by many in the town. Naoyuki was a well-respected member of the community, known for his involvement in social activities and happy personality. As the investigation went on, the case got more and more confusing. Remember, this all went down on a particularly chilly February day. Not exactly a welcoming environment for such expeditions, the official story didn't quite add up. Naoyuki heading out into the cold half-dress was not likely. Even more confusing was the fact that his stuff was found scattered all over town. An abandoned car here, a lone shoe there. See how certain things are not quite adding up. You see, law enforcement found his car near the crime scene. It was parked in the lot near A's dormitory. And you know what's weird? The car wasn't even locked, and the key was still plugged into the keyhole. So, did Naoyuki plan on even keeping his car in there for long? It certainly doesn't seem like it. But wait, it gets weirder. Even a televised reenactment with a Naoyuki lookalike couldn't crack the case wide open. Naoyuki's old man, bless his heart, wasn't having any of it. He was dead set on the theory that someone might have forced Naoyuki in there. According to his dad, who was also the last person to see him alive, Naoyuki went out for a run on February 24th at around 10 in the morning and was never seen again. Stricken by grief, he went full detective mode. Yet, despite his Herculean efforts, the case stayed shut tight, leaving Miyagi folks scratching their heads and wondering what really went down that fateful night. So, let's explore some of the theories surrounding Naoyuki Shugano's mysterious demise. Picture this: it's a chilly February evening in 1989, and Miyagi, Fukushima, is shrouded in a solemn silence following the passing of Emperor Hirohito, who had perished a little over a month prior. Then, all of a sudden, news of Naoyuki's bizarre death emerges. If you know anything about Japan and its people, then you know that they take mourning their leaders very seriously. So it's curious that a man, especially one that's a very well-functioning member of society, would voluntarily wander off into a random septic tank. And it gets even weirder. There's not a scratch on Naoyuki's body. Aside from some minor scrapes, most likely thanks to the tight squeeze of the pipe, Plus, he's found holding his clothes instead of wearing them, not to point any fingers, but did A have anything to do with all of this? Rumor has it Naoyuki was acquainted with A, the very teacher who discovered his unfortunate predicament. There's even talk about them being a lot more than friends too. And let's not forget about the mayoral election, just days before Naoyuki's demise. Tensions were running high, with the town divided over the issue of nuclear energy provided by the nearby power plant. Naoyuki, a staunch supporter of the plant, found himself caught in the crossfire, only to withdraw his endorsements shortly before the election. Coincidence? I think not. One such conspiracy related to the nearby nuclear plant. We've all heard of the 2011 Fukushima nuclear meltdown, but apparently it's not the only accident at the plant. You see, a month prior to Naoyuki's demise, there had been one instance where one of the reactors failed. Granted, the accident wasn't that big of a deal, as it was nowhere near as terrible as the 2011 tsunami-induced meltdown, but people seem to think that there's a link there. See, Naoyuki's colleague was working at Fukushima that day, and he offed himself shortly after. Coincidence? Maybe. And then we have the village chief election conspiracy. You see, 10 days prior to his discovery, there was a pretty significant election for the role of village chief. That wouldn't have been an issue, except there was a lot of fighting going on between two very distinct camps, nuclear supporters versus nuclear opposers. Obviously, Naoyuki was a firm supporter. This led people to believe that maybe there was some foul role play involved in his demise. Maybe he stumbled upon some shady political doings that went on during the election and he had to be disposed of. The more you think about it, the more confusing it gets. Yikes. So, what's the truth behind the enigma of Naoyuki Shugano? Well, my friends, that's a mystery that may never be solved, but one thing's for sure, this tale of intrigue and speculation will keep us guessing for years to come. Barry and Honey Sherman. He was a pharmaceutical tycoon, and she was a successful philanthropist in her own right. Years later, their mysterious demise still haunts everyone who knew them, leaving them with more questions than answers.
Now to the mysterious of a billionaire couple found hanging inside their mansion. Police are calling the death of pharmaceutical tycoon Barry Sherman and his wife Honey suspicious, saying both were strangled.
Why the big deal? Well, Barry was no average Joe. He built Apotex, a giant in the generic drug game, making him a billionaire several times over. Honey? She was the heart of Toronto's philanthropy scene and a pillar in the Jewish community. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. So, how did it all end up so tragically? Picture this: a real estate agent showing the couple's house to potential buyers. Everything's normal until they reach the basement. In the dim light, something catches the agent's eye. Two figures suspended by belts tied to the pool's railing. It's Barry and Honey, lifeless and hauntingly mysterious. Naturally, the question on everyone's lips, who did it? Fast forward 6 years and we're still asking. Theories? Oh, there are plenty. With billions at stake, some think Barry's wealth might have painted a target on his back. Others point fingers at the shady world of generic drugs where cutthroat competition is the name of the game. But let's rewind a bit. Who was Barry Sherman really? Picture this: a nerdy kid, not exactly Mr. Popular, but brilliant when it came to math and science. He graduates from MIT with flying colors and dives headfirst into the world of generic drugs thanks to summers spent working for his uncle's pharmaceutical company. Empire Labs, his uncle's company, becomes Barry's launching pad. He and his buddy Joel Olster turn it into a gold mine before selling it off and starting Apotex. From there, it's a wild ride to the top of the generic drug mountain. Now, what's the deal with the generic drugs anyway? Picture this: they're like the knockoff brands of the pharmaceutical world, but legal. They're supposed to be just as good as the brand name stuff, but way cheaper. Barry made a fortune selling these close enough copies worldwide, raking in billions in the process. But here's the twist: the generic drug industry isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's more like a battlefield, with companies duking it out over patents and profits, fraud, price fixing. It's all part of the game. Barry, though, saw himself as a modern-day Robin Hood, fighting the big pharma Goliaths and spreading cheap meds far and wide. But did his crusade against the establishment make him enemies? Maybe. Some say his aggressive tactics could have made him a target. Now let's talk about Honey. Picture this: a girl born in a displaced person camp, the child of Holocaust survivors. Despite her traumatic beginnings, she grows up to be a force of nature. Loud, opinionated, and fiercely devoted to her Jewish roots, she leaves her mark on Toronto's philanthropic scene. But here's where things get murky. Behind Honey's charitable facade lies a woman with a reputation. Some say she was difficult, even downright demanding. If she wanted her favorite chair at the hair salon, you better believe she'd get it. But hey, nobody's perfect, right? Still, Honey's passion for giving back was undeniable. From healthcare to education, the Shermans poured millions into causes close to their hearts. Their names adorn plaques in buildings across Toronto, a testament to their generosity.
There's not a shred of doubt about the generosity of the Shermans. It is estimated they donated more than $100 million to various causes.
Back to the mystery at hand. Picture this: a crime scene with more questions than answers. No forced entry, no clear suspects, just 2 bodies and a whole lot of speculation. Oh, that and CCTV footage of a man that no one can possibly identify leaving the premises. Did he even have anything to do with the scene that had just transpired that day? No one can know for sure. At first, the police hinted at a murder suicide, but the Sherman kids weren't buying it. They hired their own investigators and set the record straight. This was no open and shut case.
It's definitely a big struggle. All my siblings and I have been struggling since, for the past 18 months.
As the years passed, the conspiracy theories piled up. Big pharma vendettas, Russian mob hits, you name it. Everyone had a theory, but no one had a smoking gun. Even family drama got dragged into the mix. Barry's cousin Carrie, embroiled in a bitter feud over a family inheritance, became a prime suspect in some circles. But Carrie's not buying it. Sure, he had his beef with Barry, but murder? That's a stretch, even for him. Plus, the cops gave him a pass. So, the case was closed, right? Well, not quite. The Sherman kids aren't giving up, not with $35 million on the line. They're betting big on cold hard cash to crack this case wide open. So, where does that leave us? Picture this: 6 years later, and we're still in the dark. The Shermans' deaths remain an unsolved mystery, a puzzle with no easy solution. But one thing's for sure: as long as there's money to be made and secrets to uncover, the truth will always be out there, waiting to be revealed. I'm dying to know what you guys think about all this. How do you think Noah Yuki ended up in a septic tank? And do you think that the Shermans perished due to their own success? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you're a fan of all things mystery, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up and please subscribe if you'd like to keep updated on the stories we share here on this channel. Until next time, stay safe.